Hey guys, King Dro here. So today I'm on my center server and I'm going to be showing you some tricks on how to farm the tribute. The center does require quite a bit of tribute, but however, with recent changes to the element gain for the center, you can get up to 340 element per alpha. The fight itself is really easy, however, the tribute can be tricky. Now, there are Spinal Sales, Basil Fat, Megalena Toxin, just to name a few, and those can be kind of hard to find or to get them to spawn. So I have some tricks that I'm going to show you. Alright, so the first place that I'm going to show you is this cave that is by one of the beaver dam locations. And in this cave you're going to find the Megalena. Now they are hidden actually in the walls, which is weird why they've done that. So to get them to come out, you need rare flowers, and when you eat them, it will draw them to you. I like to use a Thalico just because they're very mobile, they jump, they can kill things very easily, and they are on the fast side. But you could use anything else that you'd like. Now, the only threat you have in here is actually going to be at the start of the cave. That's where the Megalosauruses spawn. Now, they are the regular version of them, so they're not nearly as strong as the aberrant ones. However, they can pull your player off of certain dinos. So just to give you that warning. There are at least 3 loot crate locations in here as well, and also an artifact. Now, the crates are generally blue in here, but you can still get some decent things, like you're going to see here that I have the blueprint for a pick. So you can get pick blueprints in here. Granted, the Ascendant Mastercraft ones are more rare. However, I have gotten a Mastercraft blueprint here before, so it is possible. So I always like to check them when I'm in here. All of my videos generally are done on official PVE clusters, so that's why you're getting this little lag rubber band thing. And for some reason today, the server is super laggy for whatever reason. But I could have cut it out, but then I guess it gives you that extra flavor that this is official. So I did decide to cut out some of the lag because it took about 45 seconds to save. So I was trying to spare you there, so that's why there's a cut in the video here. Just remember to always keep your rare flower buff on. Sometimes the Megalenas do come from all directions, so also check behind you as well. You will see coming up in the video there's going to be quite a few of them that do end up coming out. Now, you do get about 2 Megalena Toxin per each Megalena. So you only need about, I think you need 25 of them for the alpha fight. So you only need about 13 of them to kill to get enough. Now you can also, there's also another trick to the Megalena Toxin. You can actually knock them out, take the Megalena Toxin, and let them wake back up, knock them out, and then there's going to be more inside. You just keep repeating the process. Their torpor does drop quite fast, so that's kind of viable. But there's so many that spawn in here that I don't really need to worry about doing that. But some people have done that. And I don't know if it still works, but I know I used to know that when the babies were born, they would make Megalena Toxins as well. I'm not sure if they fixed that or not. Now, per cave run, when I do this, I generally will get about 20 to 25 Megalena Toxin in about 10 minutes of doing this. So that's not too terrible. There is another cave that has the Megalenas on the center. It's over in the redwoods by the waterfall. However, there's only generally like 3 that spawn in there. So, and they don't respawn as fast. I feel like this cave works better. You can definitely get a lot more in a shorter amount of time. I always get a kick when they jump off of the ceiling to come at you. It's always kind of funny. Sometimes you have to turn around though because they can come from behind you. Alright, so you get the idea. We're going to move on to the next area to farm for tributes. All right, so the next area is for the Tuso tentacles. Now there is a specific area that they spawn more commonly on the center, so that's what I'm going to show you. It's also actually, I believe, one of the deepest oceans in all of Ark. It is extremely deep. This area of the ocean was actually added on several months after the map was actually released. They added on this area. So there's also mosasauruses down there, eels, jellyfish, citronelle. There's a bunch of different other things as well. Make sure you have a spare set of scuba. I generally like to use a Tuso for this, just makes it a little faster. I don't recommend Mosa because of the jellyfish. They can stun you off with the Mosa. Basiosaurus certainly does work. However, they are a lot slower, and that's why I don't like to use them. All right, so from the Shoehorn Island there, you go to the tip and you go all the way out to the end of the map when you hit the border. Then you're going to swim all the way down. You're going to see here shortly how deep this is. Once you get all the way down, you're going to ride the border of the map north. And this is where generally they're going to spawn. This area is kind of neat. There's a lot of lighted vegetation, kind of cool. There's also like a cave system that's down here. It's also has some Mosas and Tusos, but it's always easiest for me just to do what I'm going to show you here. I ride the border. I generally get 2 to 3 Tusos per run. Now, sometimes I get lucky and I'll get an alpha. One Tuso generally will drop 8 tentacles, and I believe an alpha drops 25. You only need 25 to do the fight. So that's all you really need. So generally when I'm down here, I'll spend like a half an hour and I'll farm like 50 to 75 tentacles, and then I don't have to do this for quite a while. Alright, so once you get to the bottom and you hit the border, you're going to turn around and you're going to go north. You're going to run into Mosas. I generally kill the Mosas because I believe they share spawn with the Tuso. So I always kill them anyway. And then, you just keep going north and you will eventually hit a Tuso or two. Because otherwise, on this map, trying to find them is very hard. So this is what I find to be the easiest. I can certainly find enough Tuso tentacles to do the alpha fight within 15 minutes. You will run into a lot of Mosas as well. Occasionally you will find an alpha one. They go down pretty easy. The alphas are a little bit more tanky, but with a decent Tuso. This Tuso is very old. The base stats were like 443 melee with like, I think, around close to 30,000 health at birth. So nothing crazy. Every time I see a school of eels, I always kill them. Generally, they're just really obnoxious and they don't lose aggro for a long time. So unless you want them to constantly harass you, I would recommend you just kill them just because they're annoying. Alright, so here's our first Tuso we've encountered. They go down fairly easy unless they're an alpha. They do drop black pearls, which is nice. This is one of the good ways of getting black pearls back before gotchas and such. So just make sure that you're not too overly encumbered, because if you are, you will drop tribute in the bag. And on a Tuso in this dark area, it's very hard to find a bag. Also, if you don't have any fish in your Tuso, it will actually eat black pearls in place of raw meat. Alright, not too far away from the first one, we find ourselves a second one. Once again, it goes down super easy. And now I'm going to transition after this one's killed to the next tribute that we are going to farm. Okay, so we are at the swamp area, and we're going to farm Basil fat. Now, this is like the best area to find Basilosauruses on any map. So if you ever want to tame them, like during an event or anything like that, this is going to be the spot. However, there's a downside to it, and that is it is full of lots and lots of megalodons, so it can get a little crazy. So you're going to need something that's decently at killing things. You can use a Spino in here if you'd like. You will need scuba. I personally like to use a Tuso again. The only problem with Tuso you have to be real careful with is you can get bombarded really easily with hordes and hordes of megalodons. So you always have to kind of readjust yourself so you don't get pinned in. Did you guys like that catch I did with the Ankylosaurus falling from above? Landed directly on top of the skiff. That was kind of funny. You will see tons of dinos falling from the floating island above. Occasionally, actually, it's kind of ironic. You actually do find alpha T-Rexes in the water. They fall from above. The other nice thing about this island area is there are lots of obsidian deposits. So if you're on the center, this is actually a pretty good spot to farm obsidian. Now, there's lots of these little islands all the way around. So just make sure you get yourself oriented to where you are. So when you need to come back, you know which island to come back to. Alright, so the easiest way to find these is you kind of go around the perimeter, and they actually don't move. For some reason, they're bugged in this area. They literally just sit on the bottom by the sand with hordes and hordes of manta around them. So they're really easy to spot. I generally will get about 10 different basials down here in one go round. And then if I need more than that, I just leave and come back. So this is a great place to farm it. You will certainly get plenty of Basil fat. If you try to farm it in the regular ocean, it will literally take you hours to find enough to do the alpha, which is 25 of the Basil fat. You do get 2, however, per kill. Okay, so there's my first one there. It's in a pile of manta. What I like to do is I like to try to kill some of the things around it so I don't get stuck. And also, same thing applies where you need to make sure you're not too overly encumbered when you harvest the Basilio, because then you won't get the tribute. It'll just drop in a bag. And this ground is very hard to find bags in. There's a lot of vegetation. So I always recommend, unless you're trying to keep meat, just make sure you don't have anything in the Tuso that's important, and then I just dump all. And just make sure you take the Basil fat out of the Tuso and put it in your own inventory, but just drop everything else, because or else you're going to have trouble finding it. Okay, so you can see in that short little distance, I got 2 already. And they just pile in. There's always tons of them down here. You do get a lot of oil, so if you're a newer player and you need a lot of oil, this is a great place also. However, it is a little risky because there are a lot of megalodons, and there sometimes are also alphas, so that can get kind of interesting. So some of the tribute can be a little tedious for this boss fight. However, you do get a lot of elements, 340, and the artifacts on this map aren't too terrible, and they respawn super fast. However, I still find that Crystal Isles is the best map for artifacts. You literally don't have to do anything crazy. Most of the artifacts are out in the open, and the ones that are in the caves are caves that you can actually fly in. So it's super easy. And what I tried to do is, when I played actively on the center, was every time I needed meat, I would go farm meat in the area that I needed tribute. So if I needed, like, basil fat, for example, I would just do my meat farming down here with the sharks. That way I can kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone, and it didn't feel tedious. So I would say on average, to get the required 25 basil fats that you would need to do the alpha fight, it would take me about 20 minutes of farming for them down here to get enough. Granted, they're not hard to find. It's just it does take a little bit of time to go around the whole island, kill things, drop meat, etc., etc. So all in all, it probably takes a solid 2 hours or so to get all of the tributes to be able to do the alpha fight. However, like 340 elements, if you're only using them to power your generators, that's enough power to last quite a while. Now, if you're going to be doing a lot of building, crafting, that kind of thing, cloning, uh, maps like Extinction and Genesis are going to be better because shard farming and element farming on those maps are definitely more efficient. All right, so the last tribute that I'm going to be showing you is the spinal sails. So the ones that I've been showing you are what I consider the more difficult ones to find. You definitely do need things like, Sarcos, not Sarco, yeah, Sarcos scales, and you need like, venom from the snakes and, sauropod vertebrae and all that stuff. But that stuff is like super easy to find and you get them all the time, that it's not really an issue. The ones that I'm showing you are a little bit trickier. Some of them are hard to find, spawns and such. So I'm just trying to show you the most efficient way of doing that. All right, so we are in the ice pond, and it's kind of cold here, so make sure you have fur. If you do bring fur, just be forewarned, if you go submerged in the water, you actually become very cold. So yeah, I generally stay above water, but the spinos do spawn underwater occasionally. Now the biggest trick with this is you can use a spino. That's my most recommended dino for this, because the spino buff with the water, super efficient. You can use a Giga, certainly, but you gotta be careful with stamina in the water. Uh, if you do bring like a water dino, that's sometimes tedious, but my preferred is definitely a spinal for this mission. And then basically what you're going to do is you're going to go around this island, which I'm going to show you, and you're going to kill the piranhas. Now, piranhas, which are the fish in this pond, they share a spawn with spinos. So basically what you're doing is you're killing off the piranhas and spinos every time by the time you go around the island, at least one will spawn. Maximum of 3 can spawn. You also got to make sure to check underneath the island. They can spawn down there as well. So yeah, so all you have to do is basically stand at the edge of the water, and generally the piranhas do come at you. You don't have to do anything special. And then you basically just go around. They do sometimes spawn on top of the island as well, but you have to kill all the penguins. I usually don't bother the penguins because I like to force spawn the spinos toward the more of the water edge here instead. So the path that I'm taking is the most efficient way that always works for me. By the time I do this full circle, they have at least spawned one, which is great. So I go up here on this little ramp, and then I jump off of the edge. And generally, I also check back here because sometimes they do spawn on that cliffside there. But yeah, you fall into the water, and basically you're gonna have spinos constantly spawning. You just keep going in circles. Just a reminder that the same thing applies about being overly encumbered. The spinal sail will drop in a bag if your weight is too high. So just keep dumping the stuff you don't want, so that ensures that your spinal or whatever dino you're using will actually harvest it. Okay, I'm just gonna speed up the video a little bit just to show you the process a little bit faster so it doesn't bore you too much. But after a couple go rounds, you're gonna kind of get the idea of how this works. All right, guys, that's it for today. I hope that this video was helpful in finding ways to spawn the tribute and where to find them on the center. And please like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.